My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. This is the only channel dedicated to UFC picks and DraftKings lineups run by professional fighters and MMA insiders. Every week, I join Nick Newell, professional fighter, professional model, and ESPN Top 10 guest, along with Dan Kramer, UFC fighter, Bellator fighter, Ultimate Fighter alumni, and Jacob Lyons, a skinny kid from Indiana. And we break down every single fight, the betting odds, the DraftKings picks, and we set you up for success. This was the first week in over a year or about a year, something to that effect, where we didn't have any drops. And I'm not trying to jinx this card, but there were no drops. The card stayed intact, and what a phenomenal card it is. So if any of them are going to stay together, this is the one, and I'm happy that it did. So we're going to walk through our final lineups. For the most part, there aren't a ton of changes here because there were not drops. The one big thing that did happen at weigh-ins yesterday is that Askar Askarov missed weight by 1 pound. We've talked about it on this channel before. Missing weight by 1 pound says a lot. I would almost rather you missed weight by 3 pounds or 4 pounds. 1 pound means you tried really, really hard and you sucked your body dry and there's nothing left and you have nothing else to give and you still missed weight. So when we go through our lineups, you guys let me know when we get to your picks if that affected you. Personally, I didn't have him in my lineup, but I'm loving that, the heavy favorite because I did bet on Joseph Benavidez if you want to check out the bet video. And I love that Askarov is probably going to be bone dry going into this fight, sucked of some energy, and you have somebody like Benavidez and a style like Askarov that's going to wear on him. So let's walk through our lineups. I'll walk through Nick's. Nick went the heaviest favorite on the entire card, maybe of all time, in Amanda Nunes. Anytime you can get a guaranteed win, I guess you got to chase that. I didn't like the money, so I didn't touch it, but I get where he's going. Then he went with Peter Yan, which is, he's the champ. He has a ton of power. We broke down that fight separately. Most of us doubled that fight up. Jacob favors Sterling in that fight, but, Peter Yan's not a terrible pick because even if he loses, he's going to score a ton of points. He's going with Jake Matthews over Brady. He's hoping that, the grappling may be a little better there and Jake Matthews can score some of those points. And because he picked Amanda Nunes at $9,600, he needs a few underdogs here. And Jake Matthews is a heavy, heavy underdog. He's going with Carlos Ulberg. That's a fight that a lot of us are probably going with. Carlos Ulberg is a great striker, has a ton of kickboxing background, world level kickboxer, and he's fighting another striker that just isn't on his level.
And he's beautiful.
Very handsome. He's going with Thiago Silva over Alexander Rakic. And somebody murdered me in the comments for not pronouncing these names correctly. That's almost a pick 'em fight. They both have wild hands, tons of speed. So he's going with Thiago Silva in that fight. He's the underdog in that fight, so he had to save a few dollars here with that pick. And then he's going with Tim Elliott. We are all very high on Tim Elliott, an absolute true warrior, true veteran. He's got a bunch of losses, but if you look at that record a little closer, it's to some of the best people in the world, top 10 people. And we just think this is a big step up for Espinoza. And Tim Elliott is dirty enough and doggish enough to get that fight done. So that's Nick's lineup. Dan, why don't you go ahead and walk through yours?
Sure. So first up, I got Joseph Benavidez. We talked about it on the earlier podcast. I think he's fought the best of the best. He's been in the title fights. His last 2 losses, although they were early stoppages, they were against literally the best guy in the world, who's an absolute killer. And I think in Askarov, it's a tough fight for anybody stylistically with the wrestling. But I think Benavidez, he's still young enough. He's got so much experience. He's skilled everywhere. I think he's got enough tools in his tool set to make this an exciting fight, get out of some, defend some takedowns, get in some scrambles, land some strikes, and could make it a really interesting fight if he can fend off that wrestling. So to get him at, $7,900, I think is a great value. So I'm putting him in there, hoping for an exciting fight where he scores some points and doesn't get out wrestled the entire time. Next up, I got Dominic Cruz over Casey Kenny. This is another one where I think to get Dominic Cruz, former world champion, for $8,100 against really kind of an up and coming prospect. I think this is going to be a fight where experience is shown by Cruz and kind of shows like, hey, there's, you're doing good, Kenny, but there's levels to this. So I think Cruz is going to try to stay on the outside, pick his shots, frustrate Kenny with his kind of weird style footwork. And I just think he's going to probably put up a bunch of points, and he could do other things too. I think he's got underrated takedowns, submissions. I think he's just very, very good everywhere. So for $8,100, that was a no-brainer. Then I got Sterling, and it's out of order, but I have both Sterling and Peter Yan. I think that is going to be an absolute barn burner of a fight. I keep flip-flopping about how I think it's going to end, but ultimately I think it's going to end up going into the later rounds, and I think there's going to be a lot of output from both guys, tons of striking. Sterling's going to go for some takedowns. It's just a very, very evenly matched fight that I think will be a ton of DraftKings points over the course of 5 rounds. So I got those two in there. Then I got Olberg over in Chekwu. So I just think he's the better overall striker. I watched some tape on in Chekwu. I think Olberg is going to land a lot more shots, potentially land a big shot, a clean shot to put him away. But at a minimum, I think he's going to win the striking match over the course of 3 rounds. So I got him in there for $9,000, hoping for him to get a stoppage. But either way, I think he cruises to a unanimous decision win.
And he's beautiful,
hopefully with a ton of volume. And Jacob really, really has a thing for him. So for $9,000, I'm going to throw him in there. And then last up, I've said it before, I'm nervous about this one because I'm going against Jacob's lock of the week, which we've all known is really anything but a lock of the week. But the last 3 weeks he's been right, so I can't really say much. But no, I'm taking Yadong over Phillips. I think this is another fight that's going to be incredibly high paced right out of the gates. That first round is going to be wild. I'm taking Yadong just because I think he's the more experienced fighter, comes from a very, very good camp. He's young and getting better every fight. And for DraftKings, I just think this fight is going to be a ton of volume and output and punches and just a wild fight. So for $8,800, I've gotten him in there as well. That's my lineup. Hopefully there's no drops, but check back if there are. We'll update our finals if there's drops. But right now, knock on wood, these should be it. So.
Yeah, and Dan historically has had pretty strong lineups. I'm usually a little better, but your lineups have historically been pretty strong.
In 1 year.
Not according to your Venmo transactions.
If we jump into mine, I did the same thing. I doubled up the Sterling Yan fight. I just think it's an absolute war. I think it's a really busy back and forth fight. They both have high volume output. They're lighter, they're fast paced. It'll likely go the distance. So anytime you double up a fight, you're guaranteed a loser, but this is a 5-round fight. So there's a ton of time to score points. I think it's a close fight and they're lighter, right? I wouldn't double up a heavyweight fight because they're not going to be busy and there's probably a stoppage. But in this case, I think it'll go to decision. I think they'll both be very busy and I think they can get over 100 points out of both of them. So doubling up to me made sense. It was the only one that did make sense to double up for me. I also went with Jan Blachowicz in the main event. I actually think he wins. So I genuinely think he wins the fight. I think he's just too big. He has too much power. And I think that will wear on Izzy over the course of the fight. Those big, heavy shots, Blachowicz's ability, or Blachowicz, his ability to absorb whatever Izzy gives him. And at $7,000, I was able to afford only favorites the rest of the way. So then I have Islam Makhachev over Drew Dober. I think Islam wins that fight. So Drew Dober is dangerous. Drew Dober's experienced. If Drew Dober can keep that fight only in the pocket, he'll probably win. But Islam's wrestling is just too strong. He's too relentless. And Drew has had issues with wrestlers in the past. So I think Islam gets that done. I'm going with Rasic over Santos. We mentioned earlier Nick's lineup. It's a very close fight. They're both phenomenal strikers. I'm doing it for two reasons. One, I think, the way Glover just beat Thiago Santos sort of showed other people in that division how to beat Thiago Santos, right? Weather the storm, take him down. And Rasic, out of the two of them, has the better grappling. He does have some wrestling. His striking is a little more diverse. He doesn't have the power that Thiago Silva does, but he definitely is a little more diverse in his kicks and things like that. But I think the wrestling is the difference in that fight, and I think he wins that fight. I already mentioned I doubled up the Sterling Yan fight. So the last one I have here is I'm also going with Yadong over Phillips. He's just a much better striker. He's a very, very, very good striker. The concern here would be Phillips grappling. But, with Yadong training at Alpha Male, they're not stupid. It's all killer wrestlers in that gym. He must be training his takedown defense, or at least working on, let me make him pay on his way in so he questions trying to come in next time. So that's my lineup. I'm very, very confident in this. It's really all hinged on me going with Blachowicz. By going with Blachowicz, I can afford the rest of these heavy favorites. So Jacob, why don't you go ahead, your lock of the week, yada, 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 and walk us through your lineup.
It's so funny that you guys steal my stuff. Angelo's talking about, I'm so confident in this lineup. I start every week by saying I have never, ever been so confident in a lineup in my entire life. Let's get right into it. If you want to watch the full breakdowns, we have full breakdowns on every single fight. So go back and watch our video. So I won't get too in depth with it. I doubled up the main event, and actually I feel I think a little bit better about doubling up the main event than I did because of John Jones's tweet. He tweeted and deleted that Yan was going to win by KO. I think that pisses off Adesanya even more than I thought. Adesanya was playing with house money, kind of nonchalant about this whole thing, but he really cares about what John Jones thinks. And he saw that tweet, and I think he really gets after it. It's an absolute war, and I think it goes all 5 rounds. Adesanya by decision. I get all those points. Euros Medic is an absolute animal. He is going to overwhelm Elon. We have a betting video. I have actual money on Medic winning by first round KO. So watch our betting video. Comment down below if you think that's crazy, but whatever. Nunes is a huge favorite. My big prediction for the Nunes fight is we're going to get at one point Rogan's going to be like, she's hurt. I think Megan Anderson with her length is going to not put her in trouble, but kind of wake up Nunes, make her fight a little bit smarter. I think that fight goes on a little bit longer than we think, but that's just more points for Nunes to rack up. She probably finds a way to get to the ground and just mauls her. And then I think Dan doesn't know about this, but Angelo, I think you have a graphic for lock of the week. You can go ahead and play that now. Lock! Oh, the week. So Angelo spent a lot of time this week putting that graphic together. Thank you, Angelo, for that. My lock of the week. And I got a little intel this week from Kyler Phillips. I'm just saying he's ready more than we think he's ready. So I got Kyler Phillips lock of the week over Sung Young Dong. And that's just, there's nothing more to say about that. We have the breakdown in the previous video if you want to understand why. Lock of the week. And then I have Aljamain Sterling, because I honestly think that he's a better fighter than Peter Yan. Obviously, Peter Yan's the champ, but when you're the champ, you are the champ because you force people to fight your style. Aljamain Sterling is not going to fight the style that Peter Yan wants him to fight. He's going to be all over the place, all over top of him, and he's going to win this fight. So I chose to stay away from doubling that up, and this is the winning lineup. It'll definitely, like I said, usually I'm 4-0 going into the main event. And I'll lose one of those, but it'll be a 5-win lineup for him this week.
Jacob, has Carlos Ulberg responded to any of your DMs yet, or no?
He has not. No, and I'm really, I didn't want to bring up the Polyana Colby thing, but this is not good for me, guys. This is not good for me. Polyana, if you're seeing this, man, what are you doing? Colby, come on, Colby. So, no. But no, he has not responded. I might have to. Polyana, ditched me to the side. So maybe it is him after all. So we'll see.
Well, I really want to laugh at your lineup and make fun of you, how terrible you are, but you have been streaking lately. You've been doing well lately. So
love the graphics. Lock of the week.
4-0 undefeated lock of the week.
if you win lock of the week this week, next week I have to make a I'm going with the lock of the week bet, whatever it is. I got to throw some money on it. Sometimes when you're hot, you're hot.
Hopefully that music doesn't get copyrighted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so either way, those are our lineups. I'm not trying to jinx it. The card has stayed together. I hope nothing drops. If it does, you have all the information you need to make a decision for a swap, and we'll go ahead. We'll post what we're doing and how we're addressing anything. Let us know in the comments what your lineups look like. Let us know of these 4, which one you like best. And I'd also be curious if any of you dropped Askar Askarov because of the weight issue and what your thoughts are on that. So talk to us, comment down below. We respond to everything. Thanks for the watch, and enjoy the fights tonight. Before you go, check out the description below. In there, we have links to our Facebook, our Twitter, our Instagram, and more importantly, to our DraftKings League. Check out the league, join the league, participate in the contests, and as we get going and as you start winning, we're going to start handing out gift cards and participating and doing things like that. So check those out. Every week, there are drops on every fight card. So make sure you check out this channel and our social media on Saturday before the fights start so that you have our most updated lineups and picks.